From Dame time to Kawhi's game winner against Philly, here are the NBA players with the most game-winning shots in NBA history, and starting off with one of the clutchest players of all time, Paul Pierce.
Garnett the screen. Pierce driving on Stoudemire, the jumper, yes! With 0.4 of a second left.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, he might get disrespected these days by LeBron fanboys and girls, we don't discriminate here, but Pierce actually has a phenomenal record when it comes to clutch time. For statistical purposes, I'm not adding any numbers next to the players, but as far as buzzer beaters are concerned, Paul Pierce made 7 of them, and also assisted a further 5 of them. But because buzzer beaters can be game-tying moments, and the team can go on to lose in overtime, that's the reason I'm only using it as one of the metrics for game-winning shots. But Pierce also assisted 5 game-winning shots in the clutch. And considering the fact that he's somehow been forgotten for his clutch play, he definitely deserves his place on the list. And for someone who ranks in the top 11 for three-pointers made, it's amazing to notice that all 7 of his buzzer beaters came as 2-point field goals. The Truth was definitely a sensational player, but another disrespected player from the modern era is Kawhi Leonard, the Claw.
It's off to Leonard, defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger?
Known for that sensational game winner against the Philadelphia 76ers, which sent them home, absolutely deserves to be on this list. After all, he's someone who managed to get his hands on 2 rings with 2 different teams, and if you're not a match winner, you can't do that. Fortunately, Kawhi is one of the most underrated and fantastic clutch players in the NBA. His stats might not compare well to some of the other greats, but among all currently active players, Kawhi ranks pretty high on the list for players who hit the go-ahead shot that proved to be the winner in the last 5 seconds of a game. But at the same time, another currently active player with a much better resume for hitting those clutch shots is Damian Lillard.
Lillard turns the corner, darts to the rim, and scores! 6.5 left, Jeff Hornacek.
The man who has his own personal nickname for clutch time and a celebration for the ages, Dame Time. What a sensational player. He may not have had a lot of luck in winning rings, but that's mostly in part due to the poor supporting cast he has in Portland. But don't let those ringless hands fool you. Lillard's one of the most clutch shooters in the game, and he's tied at the top for hitting buzzer beaters that practically ended playoff series. The man he's tied with will of course make an entrance on this list, but for now, it's all about Dame Time. Who can possibly forget the 2014 playoff series against the Rockets? Damian Lillard sending Houston packing with that beauty, only to get ahead and do it all over again 5 years later in the same round against the OKC Thunder. He's hit plenty of other game winners in regular season games, but by the time he retires, he'll probably be in the top 5 list for game-winning buzzer beaters too. But how about including a player who's already in the top 5? In fact, in the top 3 for most game-winning shots. Yep, that's right, I'm talking about ISO Joe, also known by his actual name, Joe Johnson.
Back live, Joe Johnson, got it. 6-time All-Star with 0.7 of a second to go. He's been quiet much of the game.
Despite having a career marred with internal disputes and injuries, Johnson was easily one of the most clutchest players to play in the NBA. His shot creation was second to only the greats at Tim's, and the defender's inability to stop him from getting his shot off earned him that famous nickname. In fact, most people remember him as ISO Joe, and for good reason too. After all, he has more game-winning shots than LeBron James himself. But for some reason, which I'll explain later, LeBron's name will be added to the list a little later. Back to Joe though. Johnson managed to prove his clutch time superiority on a staggering 8 occasions, sinking those shots to win his team the game. But the best part of that is his ability to create shots for himself. How do you stop someone who isn't going to get assisted for the game-winning moment? That's right, out of Johnson's 8 game winners, 7 came unassisted, and nobody in history managed more. Sensational, right? But now we're entering the big boys. And who else to kick off proceedings for the top 3 but the man who defined big moments? Yep, Kobe Bryant, the Black Mamba.
With the save.
Oh, you got to get a shot here.
Final seconds. Bryant for the win. Bang!
R.I.P. Kobe, you'll never be forgotten. And how can you possibly forget someone who gave you so many clutch moments? You can't. The former MVP was built for the big moment, and for 20 years, nonstop, he delivered. There's a reason that the current generation grew up yelling Kobe while letting one off, just like Anthony Davis did in an actual game, but there's an actual reason for that. When someone is around for that long and manages to sink 8 game winners in their career, you'd more or less associate them with winning games on their own, which Kobe did on many occasions as well. Bryant's game winners majorly came during the regular season, for which reason alone he's just below the 2 players battling out for GOAT status. However, this doesn't dim his greatness at all. 6 of those game winners came when his team was trailing and needed a shot to go, and it went. Not to mention, he also hit 3 game winners in less than a month between December 2009 and December 2010, all of them when his team was down by a point or 2. Incredible run, right? And in the same ilk as his idol, Michael Jordan. For the MJ fans who know that Jordan's coming in at number 2, I need to clarify something. It was so tight between LeBron and MJ that I've decided to put both of them at the top. Unfair? Well, it's my video, so my rules. There's very little that separates the two, and to make MJ's case, it's obvious. He's hit the most number of game-winning shots in history, hitting 9 of them. That should be it, right? Well, yes and no, but more on the no later. MJ sent his opponents packing many times in the clutch, and there's a reason he is the GOAT. In fact, he was the only player to end 2 different playoff series with a buzzer beater, until Dame came along, and those game winners ranged from anywhere between 14 to 26 feet. Not bad for a player who couldn't shoot, right? But how about a player who was actually doubted in his ability to score in the clutch? LeBron James. We are all familiar with the criticism he's received for his clutch play over the years, and despite only hitting 7 game winners or buzzer beaters, I laugh at that only. The King is actually responsible for the most game-winning playoff shots, which I'd argue are slightly tougher to make than the regular season game-winning shots. I can hear some of you saying, is that the reason why he's top? You must be kidding me. No, there's obviously another reason. LeBron is the outright leader for most points in clutch time, and also the second most game-tying, game-winning shots in the final minutes of the 4th quarter, or overtime. Not to mention he's also got age on his side, which is something so absurd because he's 38. But yeah, I see him playing for another couple of seasons, and I expect him to add to that tally. And before you all argue among yourselves, both LeBron and MJ are tied for number 1 here. That's all I have for you on the players with the most game-winning shots. See you next time with more content.